The Clockmaker's secret. In the heart of a bustling city, tucked away in a narrow alley that few noticed, was a quaint little shop that seemed to resist the flow of time. The sign above the door, worn by years but still proudly legible, read Harrington's Timepieces. Inside, the shop was a labyrinth of clocks of every conceivable design. Grandfather clocks that stood like silent sentinels, cuckoo clocks that chimed with the cheer of unseen birds, and pocket watches that gleamed like captured stars. The shop was run by Mr. Harrington, a clockmaker of unparalleled skill and an enigmatic figure whose age no one could quite guess. His hands, steady and sure, had breathed life back into timepieces that others had deemed beyond repair. But it wasn't just his skill that drew whispers among the locals. It was the rumor that Mr. Harrington had discovered the secret to real magic, a way to manipulate time itself. One rainy evening, as the city wrapped itself in the cloak of night, a young woman named Ava entered the shop, driven by a mixture of curiosity and desperation. She had heard the stories, of course, but her reason for seeking out Mr. Harrington was far more personal. Her father's watch, a family heirloom passed down through generations, had stopped working the very moment he had passed away. It was said that Mr. Harrington could fix more than just the gears of a clock. Mr. Harrington listened to Ava's story, his eyes reflecting a depth of understanding that comforted her weary heart. He took the watch, promising to see what he could do, and asked her to return the next day. As Ava turned to leave, she caught a glimpse of a peculiar clock high up on the wall. Unlike the others, this clock had 13 hours marked on its face. Curiosity piqued, Ava asked about it. Mr. Harrington paused, a rare hesitation in his usual composure. He explained that it was a project of his own creation, an attempt to capture the essence of time beyond the constraints of our understanding. The 13th hour, he said, represented the moments in life that transcend the ordinary, the moments of true change. The next day, Ava returned to find her father's watch ticking away as if it had never stopped. Overjoyed, she thanked Mr. Harrington, who simply smiled, his eyes twinkling with an unspoken knowledge. As Ava left, the clockmaker turned his attention to the clock with 13 hours. He whispered to it, a soft, indiscernible chant that seemed to make the air around it shimmer. For a brief moment, the clock's pendulum swung wildly, and the shop was filled with a bright, ethereal light. When the light faded, Mr. Harrington was gone, leaving behind only the echo of his laughter and the ticking of countless clocks. The shop remained, a timeless sanctuary in the heart of the bustling city, watched over by the mysterious clock that now ticked in the 13th hour. Rumors swirled about Mr. Harrington's disappearance, but Ava knew the truth. In fixing her father's watch, he had given her a moment of closure, a final goodbye that transcended the boundaries of time. And in the heart of the city, Harrington's timepieces stood as a testament to the clockmaker's secret, a reminder that some moments were meant to last forever, beyond the final stroke of midnight. As the years passed, Harrington's timepieces became a legend in its own right, a place shrouded in mystery and whispered tales. Ava, whose life had been touched in a way she could hardly explain, felt a deep connection to the shop and, in time, became its caretaker. She maintained the clocks with a reverence that spoke of her gratitude and respect for Mr. Harrington, ensuring that the magic of the place never dimmed. Ava often pondered the fate of Mr. Harrington, wondering if he had somehow transcended the very essence of time he so passionately worked with. The shop attracted visitors from far and wide, drawn by the allure of its history and the enigmatic clock that marked 13 hours. Ava would share the story of the clockmaker's secret, leaving out no detail except one: the true nature of the 13th hour. Then, on an evening much like the one when Ava had first entered the shop, a figure appeared at the door. It was a man, seemingly out of place in the modern world, his attire reminiscent of a bygone era. Ava watched, heart pounding, as he approached the counter with a familiarity that sent shivers down her spine. "I've come for my clock," he said, his voice carrying a melodic quality that felt both strange and familiar. Ava, stunned into silence, could only watch as he walked past her, his steps carrying him straight to the clock with 13 hours. He stood before it, a smile playing on his lips as he gently touched the face of the clock. "Did it work?" Ava finally managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. The man turned to her, his eyes sparkling with an unfathomable depth. "Yes, Ava. It worked better than I could have ever hoped. The 13th hour. It's a gateway, a moment outside of time where one can step back, reflect, and change a single moment, a single decision." Ava's mind raced, trying to grasp the implications. "And you? What moment did you change?" His smile widened, tinged with a sadness that spoke of deep loss and profound love. "I changed nothing for myself. The clock was never for me. It was for those with regrets, those needing closure. Like you, Ava." Confusion clouded Ava's thoughts. But why return? Why now? "Because," he began, turning back to the clock, "the 13th hour is not meant to be a permanent escape. It's a gift, and every gift has its time. Now, it's time for me to let go, to pass on the shop and its secrets." As he spoke, the clock began to chime, not 12 times, but 13, each strike resonant with the weight of unspoken mysteries. With the final chime, the man faded before Ava's eyes, leaving behind the ticking of the clocks as the only proof he had ever been there. Ava rushed to the clock, her hands trembling as she touched its ancient face. In that moment, she understood the true magic of Harrington's timepieces. It wasn't about changing the past, but about learning to embrace the present with all its imperfections and beauty. In the weeks that followed, Ava found herself more determined than ever to preserve the legacy of the shop. But as she opened the shop one morning, she found a note on the counter, written in Mr. Harrington's unmistakable hand. "Every story has its end, and every end is a new beginning. The shop is yours now, Ava. But remember, the greatest magic is found in the moments we choose to make right, not the ones we wish to erase." And with that, Ava realized the twist in her story. The magic had always been within her, in the choices she made and the lives she touched. Harrington's Timepieces was not just a shop of clocks, but a reminder that while time moves forward, the moments we cherish, the moments we choose to make right, are what truly endure.